Hello friends and fashion lovers, welcome and welcome back. Thank you for clicking on this video. In this video I'll be showing you how to make this lovely baby doll dress. So you will need a fabric. I have about 2 yards. You need elastic and a button. The measurement you need for this dress is displayed on the screen, but the basic bodice on a sleeve pattern is going to cut down the steps. I'm going to start by marking a guideline which will serve as a shoulder line. Then I'll go ahead and mark the chest line. And then from the shoulder line, I am going to mark my desired dress line. So on the shoulder line, I'm going to mark half the shoulder width measurements. You can add seam allowance. So I decided to just add seam allowance to it to cut down the extra steps. And I'm repeating the same on the chest line. So next is the neck width. So just mark your desired neck width right there. And also your desired neck depth. So I'm marking the neck depth for the front. I am going to quickly do a little bit for the back later. So just mark your desired neck depth. Next is to connect to form your neckline. And I go ahead and mark the shoulder slope since the shoulder is not exactly straight. And then I am going to mark the chest measurement. So just put quarter of the round chest measurement plus ease and seaming allowance. And you go ahead and connect your armhole. So for the front armhole, I like to go in a little bit. And then whatever you have on the chest measurement, just mark it towards the hemline. So this is just the skeletal part of the dress. We are going to make certain adjustments very soon. Example, we are going to determine where you want your tear to be. So I decided to do about 1.5 inches from the chest line and just make a slight curve, and this is for the front. So from there on, I'm going to determine how many tears that I want for my dress. You could do more, you could do less, but the more you do, the more flowy the dress will be and the fuller the dress will be. So for my back, remember that I just marked for my front. For my back, I don't really need a full dress length. I'm just going to quickly adjust my yoke design. So instead of having a curvy one like I have for the back, I'm just going to use the same inches that I went up with from the chest line. And I'm going to connect in a straight form. So basically, whatever design you want, you can go ahead and mark that out. You can see that I have different design for the back and the front, but the only difference is going to be the first tier. So for my back first tier, I'm just going to take a measurement from where I had my yoke marked out to where I want my first tier to end. And this measurement is the same as the front. So that's basically the first tier is the difference between the front and the back. So after this first tier, every other thing remains the same. So I'm just going to cut that out. So just note that this from the second tier, you have the back and the front to be the same, and the third one will be the same for the back and the front. So before cutting out my pattern, I'm going to quickly take a measurement that will help me when I'm drafting my sleeve, and that is my armhole length. So make sure that you take that and note it down. If you have your basic bodice, just place it like so and you trace it and you mark your dress length. That extra steps can be avoided by doing just this. Place your basic bodice and mark your dress length. And for the sleeve pattern, you just go ahead and trace your sleeve pattern, and you're pretty much taking most steps out of the way. So right now I'm just going to quickly draft my sleeve. So I'm going to do that by folding it in half. That doesn't mean I won't be giving consideration to my back sleeve curve and my front sleeve curve. So firstly, I'm marking a guideline, then I'm going to go ahead and mark my sleeve length. So to my sleeve length, I'm adding extra 3 inches. This extra 3 inches is for my elastic and also a little bit of volume that I want for my sleeve. And next, I am marking my cap's height. So you know how to determine the cap's height for a child, just the same way you determine for an adult. I'm marking my armhole depth at that point, and then I am going to connect to form a mini triangle right there. Then divide this line into 3, and you're going to go up by about 2 centimeters and you go down by about 1 centimeters on the last line. Then you connect, and that will be for your front sleeve. And for the back, you just go up and up again by 1 centimeter. So basically the same way you draft for an adult. The only thing is that the measurement is going to change slightly for a child. You can trace the sleeve of the garment that a child already has, or if you want me to make a special sleeve tutorial, I can easily do that. So after cutting out the sleeve, you just go ahead and label it and make sure that your sleeve caps matches. If it matches, then you are good to go. So the same place that you have placed or marked your yoke for this dress, do well to mark same for the sleeve. So I'm going to repeat the same thing again for the back. So however you have marked your yoke, do well to mark it on both the front and the back. So I'm going to quickly mark this point, and I'm going to cut it out. So after cutting it out, I'm going to cut out my dress pattern, but before then I'm going to add my hemming allowance, just a little bit hemming allowance right there. Then I'm going to cut out the rest of my pattern. Then I'm going to make the necessary adjustments, and I'm going to show you. And the necessary adjustment I'm going to make, I'm going to show you on my cut out fabric so that it makes more sense to you. So right here I have my back piece and I have the first yoke for each. You know, the style is going to be slightly different because the back is straight, but one thing I want you to note is that I have a seaming allowance to attach my back to the first tier. So each of them has seaming allowance. You are joining it back. So after you've cut your pattern, if you have to join it back, you need a seaming allowance. So the seaming allowance is up to you. Do you want to use ½ inch? Do you want to use 1 centimeters? Whatever you want to use. Do you want to use 3/4 of an inch? But make sure that you have seaming allowance to stitch this back on so that you can have your full dress length, your desired dress length. So this is for the front. You can see that it's slightly different from that of the back. But one thing I want you to note is that each tier is 4 inches wider than the other one. And don't forget that my fabric here is on fold. My fabric here is on fold. It means that if I open it up, each tier will be 8 inches longer than the one that follows. So up there I have 4 inches wider than my yoke. Then the next tier is 4 inches wider than the previous one, and that is how it goes. So don't forget that the single tier for the first one, it's single fabric, since I have different design. And from the second tier, I'm cutting the same for both the back and the front. So this is just pretty much it. Please don't forget your seaming allowance because you are joining it back. So right here, I have placed my tiers in place just the way I arranged it for the back, for the front. So I'm going to go ahead and gather it up. So after gathering it up, I am going to place it right side facing. Please make sure that you note the center point because it just makes life a lot easier. If you're able to match the center and the side piece, you can adjust the gathers evenly. So just place the tiers right side facing, noting the center point and pin that in place. You're going to take to your sewing machine and stitch it, and you're doing this for both the back and the front. After stitching it, this is what it looks like. Please, if you have noticed that I only gathered only one part of each tier, I didn't gather the down part that I'll be attaching the next tier to. So now my front is on fold, and of course the back too is on fold, but we're going to make a little adjustment to the back so that it will be much easier for the child to get in and out of the garment. So from the down part, you can go ahead and mark 1.5 inches to 1 inch. If you mark 1.5 inches and your seaming allowance was half an inch, it means that you will have 1 inch left. But if you marked 1 inch and your seaming allowance is half inch, it means that you just have half inch. So bear that in mind. So now after marking it and you cut it to the marked point, so just pin the yoke to the rest of your garment and you're going to be stitching it for both the back and the front. After stitching it, go ahead and place it right side facing. You're going to stitch the shoulder. After stitching the shoulder, set that aside. It's time to work on the sleeve. So here is my sleeve. Remember the part that I had cut out? So that part, I'm just adding seaming allowance that I'll be attaching it to this other one. And this other one, I also extended it by 4 inches. If you ask how I extended it by 4 inches, just split it in half, mark 8 inches in the middle, and you place your pattern and you cut it out. So now I'm just going ahead to note, you need to note the center of your sleeve and the notches, the back and the front. So if you have made those marks that will aid you in assembling your sleeve properly, go ahead and open it up. Obviously I have two sleeves. I'm going to gather it up. So I'm going to gather this down part up so that it can fit the cap of the sleeve. So I'm going to gather it and stitch it in place like so. After stitching it in place, I'm going to be attaching it to my garment. So you make sure that you have your sleeve placed right side facing. So just go ahead and pin your sleeve to your garment and take to your sewing machine and stitch your sleeves in place. So after stitching the sleeve in place, your garment should look somewhat like this. One more step, you're going to fold this. If you have not overlocked, that means you're going to fold it twice, and the folding should be enough to accommodate your elastic. I am using 1/2 inch elastic, by the way. So here I have made my elastic casing for my sleeve. So now I'm just going to use a safety pin and thread my elastic. Make sure that you secure the end of your elastic to avoid it passing through. So I'm going to stitch and secure my elastic. So after stitching my elastic, this is what it looks like. So it's time to place the dress right side together. So you're going to place it right side together, match each tier. So each joining that you have made, make sure that you match it, and you are using your seaming allowance. So after stitching, this is what it looks like, you can see. So I'm going to use a bias step to finish off the neckline. Also attach the button after finishing off the neckline with the bias step. I know there are a lot of tutorial on how to finish a neckline with a bias step. So this is what the dress looks like. It's very pretty, and I made a bloomer shot to go with the dress. I will be dropping a video on how to make this bloomer shot. If this video was helpful, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so, and give it a thumbs up. And I will see you in the next tutorial. Bye for now.